This is the last bartender. It was my birthday the other day, and I took a couple days off of doing this stuff, and I just wanted to tell a little story. I've mentioned my father on here, Mickey Mistich, Michael Joseph Mistich. He was not around. When I was a kid growing up, I would see him like once a year, and he was kind of like Santa Claus slash Baloo the Bear from the Jungle Book, not the CGI one, the original cartoon. And we we used to go to Busch Gardens because he would pick us up, and Busch Gardens was right over the hill. And you buy one beer at Busch Gardens, as Anheuser-Busch Gardens. you buy one cup, and you could just fill it up the entire time you're there. So you walk around, do all the attractions, and you just keep filling up your beer. So of course, why not grab your kids and go do that? It was a different time back then. I used to drive his car home when I was like 6 or 7. I mean, I wouldn't drive it home, but I would steer. We would take, me and my sister Michelle would take turns sitting on his lap and driving home. And you know, part of the lore of this area is that there are African parrots everywhere around here. You can hear them in all the different neighborhoods. There's some that are in Pasadena. There's some, and some of them are a little bigger. Some of them are smaller. But back in the day, when you'd find them on the ground, and when they had died, you would see some of them. They had little anklet thingies, you know, those little clips on them that said that they were, you know, some kind of, not a pet, but they were tracked somehow. Well, the story was that they popped the top of the aviary at the Anheuser-Busch Gardens. It's just when the place closed down. The place closed down because they had, this is sad, I shouldn't be laughing. They had a ride that would go over the vats of bubbling beer, and some lady fell off and fell into it. And the story was she was too big for the strap. She just climbed in anyway. And it wasn't a fast ride, but something happened, and she got dumped into the vat and died, and they shut the place down. And the lore was they had an aviary there with all these birds, and the lore is that they just opened the top of it and just and so that's why we have all the parrots and stuff that you hear. Very noisy parrots. You know, if you're in Southern California, you're gonna see them at some point because they were very loud. But yeah, Michelle and I used to take turns driving home, and one of the things that I remember the most was my father's watch. Now, my father was working in the middle of the desert in Abu Dhabi. I talked about him working in the jungle. He was in the middle of the desert in Abu Dhabi, and they were building, obviously, a gas plant there. And, you know, he would get his paycheck and just go back to the, you know, it wasn't a hotel. They were just, like, put up in, I don't even know, they were like barracks, I guess. So there's no place to spend your money, no place to do anything. So he decided to buy himself a nice watch. And this was the 1970s, and if there was an award for the pimpiest watch on the face of the planet, I think my father would have got it for this watch. He gave it to me. It is the greatest watch ever. It is the most awesome, hideous, wonderful, gaudy, just piece of brilliance ever. It's a Bulova, and I think that they might have a little bit of a problem with their name being on this thing, even though it is absolutely magnificent. So let's run through it. It's got little diamond-shaped pieces of jade. It's got ram heads with ruby eyes, gold nuggets all around it. And, I mean, you have to just marvel at this thing. Let's see if we can see the ram's heads. I gotta take it off. We gotta do this right. So yes, a huge piece of my childhood was this Bulova watch. It is so beautiful. It is the greatest thing ever. And my dad's friends had a field day making fun of him for this thing, but it is just gorgeous. And it's gorgeous in the most hideous way, but it is the coolest thing ever. Seriously, you have to see it to believe it. But there you go. That's the story of Anheuser-Busch in Busch Gardens here in Southern California, and my father's watch. Just like in the Quentin Tarantino movie. Pulp Fiction. This is your dad's watch. I hid this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass for 3 long years. I don't think this has been in anybody's ass, but it's a bitchin' watch, and I'm stoked I got it, and thank you, Dad. So there you go. This is the last bartender. Happy drinking.